So it's the beginning of February. I know you're probably not headed anywhere right now, though what better time to start thinking of some great vacations when it's super cold and for us, super rainy and dreary all day long. This is the best time to start thinking about heading to the beach and other travel plans. But it's really an ideal time because some of the best ways to save on travel are by booking early, by being ahead of the game. So we can't wait and discuss this in April. You will have missed the mark on a number of ways to save. So we're going to talk budget travel tonight and try to hit the mark on all of those things so that you can save the most and go somewhere pretty awesome. That's the goal. If you've got questions that are on or off topic, I am 100% okay with that. So leave any questions that you have in the comments. And between myself or my husband, one of us will make sure that I see them and I will try to answer them. So if you've also got some tips that you love for ways to save on travel, please feel free to put those in the comments too. Everyone, even me, 100% okay with learning some new way to save to go on great vacations. So you may already know this about me, but I love to plan vacations. My husband has long learned this about me. Just let me dream one up. Let me have some time to spend to plan it. I don't even need to go on it sometimes. I just need to be able to plan it because it is my own little stress relief and it makes me happy. So we do get to go on some fun vacations and try to do it in a budget mindset as we do those trips. But some of it is because we plan early, because we're willing to take some of the tips we're going to go through tonight. So some of the trips we've done in the past, just my husband and I, about 3 years ago this month, went to Scotland for 10 days. The total cost, including airfare, because we paid with points, we spent less than probably like $600 on the whole trip. That's doable if you save up those points. So let's start there because that is a huge way to go on trips. And I bet if you've played the game, you potentially have some significant points saved up right now after a couple of years of really not traveling for most people. You should check what kind of points you have if you've got a credit card that's offering those incentives. Now, I have to state it, it's like requirement when you run a blog or you do live videos on saving money. This is no benefit to you if you do not pay off the credit card at the end of the month. But if you can manage that and you can use a credit card wisely, having a credit card with some fun perks like points that you can use for free hotel rooms, free airfare, however you can use those, is huge for budget travel. So in terms of those credit cards, what I would recommend, there are really two ways to look at this. If you know that you want to fly places, then really getting a credit card geared directly to the airline that you're going to fly with. So for example, anyone that lived near Atlanta, really going to want to go Delta. It's a hub. If you're near Charlotte, you're really going to want to go American because that's probably the plane that you're leaving on. You will get bigger incentives when you have a credit card directly from that brand. Now, there's a lot of credit cards like Chase. Chase is my second option that offer their own batch of points. So Chase has Chase Unlimited Rewards. I can turn around and use those points towards all sorts of things. They work with Delta and American and Marriott and wherever you want to go. But the point redemption ratio is always better when you actually are going directly with a card for that company than when I am going with Chase Ultimate Rewards. Now, Chase does say that they have one of the tightest, in terms of being as close as you can get to redeeming directly through the company, but it's still not exactly the same. So just to emphasize there, if you know that you're always going to travel on one airline or another, potentially having that airline's credit cards, not to mention the perks of that, which are going to be, free checked bags, potential free upgrades, free companion fares. A lot of them do have a annual fee, so make sure you're watching that. Our goal is really no annual fee. That is where potentially having a Chase card may pay off. We may pay a higher redemption, point to point basis when we redeem those for American or redeem those for Delta. But we didn't pay an annual fee if you were on like the Chase Freedom card or a few others. Paying it off at the end of the month. That's all we're going to talk. This isn't tonight on credit cards, but missing out on points, you've massively missed the mark on saving on travel. So whether that is airfare or hotels or both, huge. So consider that. Consider the bills that you could be paying with that every month and paying off. For us, any gas that we put in our cars, groceries, most of our purchases that are day-to-day purchases, they're going on a credit card and they're getting paid off at the end of the month. Now, we actually have two. One credit card is getting us Chase Unlimited rewards. The other is giving us Marriott points. And it depends on what we're grabbing as to which card we use. Now, we've had the Marriott card for probably like 13 or 14 years now. It does have an annual fee, so I'll just be on it, up front, keeping it truthful. That is one card that I 100% feel is actually worth the annual fee because we get 2 free hotel room nights every year for an annual fee, I think that is $89 right now. Now, 2 free Marriott hotel nights for $89, it's like $44 a night. That's a pretty good deal. So I'm okay with the annual fee. We use those free hotel room nights every year. Huge thanks to Grandma last year because my husband and I went away to Charleston by ourselves, and we, in a sense, didn't pay for it. It was part of the annual fee, but then you redeem it as a free night. So as long as it comes with some perks, I'm kind of okay with an annual fee. Those are our 2. So we end up with a bunch of Chase Unlimited rewards and then a bunch of Marriott points. So free hotel rooms, and then the other side can be redeemed for free airfare. So beyond points, there's a lot that you can do to redeem those points smarter. So I do want to mention 1 or 2 things that I would recommend. So if we are going to redeem points for free hotel rooms, always look outside of the major city. So to give you some examples here, I'm actually in the middle of trying to plan. I mentioned this to you guys like 3 or 4 weeks ago, wanting to go out west for our family and trying to maximize our Marriott points for our family to head out west. Same way, I want to use those nights that are, 15,000 point nights at a Marriott, which is about as low as you'll find, maybe 12,500 points for a night, which sounds like a lot, but it doesn't really take that long to earn that many points. But let me show you on a map what I mean here. So to pull up a lovely map, heading out west, our first stop is going to be a little outside of Nashville. That's about 8.5 hours from our house, trying to plan just normal days so we're not in the car. We don't really want to go overnight driving the whole way with 7 people in a car. That's a little extreme, guys. Now, I could use points and stay in Nashville to the tune of 30,000 points a night as the cheapest point redemption rate. Or I could go about 45 minutes outside of Nashville to this tiny little town called Clarksville. I am not there to do amazing tourist things. I'm driving through on my way out. And the price per night here for redemption, 12,500 points. So massive difference when you're trying to stretch your points is to always zoom out a little bit and look at those cities around that major city, because these little cities, it is much cheaper. Now, let's say we're not paying with points. We're just looking for a hotel deal. Massively cheaper to be in these outer areas, to be in Murfreesboro instead of Nashville. Now, is that as fun? I don't know. That's up to you. If you really need to be in the heart of Nashville to experience a Nashville vacation, you can still find some ways to save on that hotel room, but it's nowhere near what your savings would have been if you had stayed a little further out of town. Is it as fun? That's really your call. To me, I would much rather sleep in a cheap area and have more money to spend eating out or doing activities, paying to get into museums, some things that you can't always find a discount for, than paying for a crazy expensive hotel room. So you got to ponder where you want to spend your money. If I'm looking at a set budget for a trip and I can go cheap on one whole category, like where we're going to sleep, that opens up money in the budget for other things. So not trying to, rain on any parade. If you want to stay in Times Square of New York City, you can do it, but you're going to pay for it. And is that really what your goal was for the trip? You got to make that call, not me. But I'm not staying in Times Square in New York City. I'm going to stay about 20 blocks towards downtown New York City. It gets much cheaper. Now, New York City, much cheaper is relative, but we're talking almost 50% cheaper than Times Square. There are subway stops all over Manhattan. Do I need to be in Times Square? No, I can get there actually in about 10 minutes on the subway. So consider how easy it may be, depending on where you're going. That's just one example, to actually get around that city. Do you need to be in downtown? Potentially no. Potentially getting there is actually a lot easier than you think. And I don't need to be right in the heart of it because I could get there pretty fast from wherever you chose to stay. So just some general tips there, really quick in a sense, on how to save on hotel. To kind of get to some of y'all's questions too, because I see them coming in. Do we pay bills with our credit card? So Stacy, some bills we do. Not every monthly bill allows you to put it on a credit card. Some of them will actually charge you more to put it on a credit card because they have to pay that convenience fee. But if they do allow you to put on a credit card, then yes, we do pay those monthly bills with the credit cards as well, and then pay them off at the end of the month. Obviously, anything, in a sense, as long as you're not going to get yourself stuck in a really scary place, anything that I can filter through a credit card is giving me a perk that I would get no perks for if I didn't get, go there first and then pay it off. So anytime you can, it's a great way to build up some points faster. So Sarah says, recommendations for Salem, Massachusetts during October. So the same tips so far for saving on hotels. Another one is going to be, how do you want to move around when you're in the area? So typically, guys, I know that flying is fun, gets you there a lot faster. You can use less vacation days, but you've got to think about car rentals. If I do fly to an area, how am I going to plan on moving around? Do they have a good subway system? Do they not have a good subway system? And I'm going to need to rent that car. So consider that before you make the leap to fly somewhere. In terms of actual times that you're traveling to, you're wanting to head to the Northeast in the fall. I'm all for it, but you do need to realize that you are potentially heading to that area during a very large peak travel season. That is when everybody heads to the Northeast, is in late September, early October, to see the changing of the colors. And it's gorgeous, I know, but it's going to be a little harder to save money too. So in this situation, you've already narrowed down your month, but I would encourage anyone that hasn't, that you go hunting to figure out when is off peak for the area that you're wanting to go to. So for example, heading out west, the minute schools get out, it gets crazy. So Memorial Day to Labor Day is kind of crazy. I mean, it can be crazy all year round at the Grand Canyon, but you start to realize who's traveling to these areas and when is the peak travel. So is it families? Are we looking at the beach? So could we travel to those areas when everybody's in school? Great. Massive perk of being homeschooled, by the way, or having homeschooled children. We can travel when the whole world is in school, because we can be in school at the same time, but in the car. So those would be some of the things to consider too. If you are already narrowed down to the month, as Sarah is wanting to go in October, then you look at off-peak days. So weekends are always more expensive. If I can head anywhere Monday through Thursday, it is going to be significantly cheaper to head on a weekday. Not to mention traffic is going to be less in the places that you're going. So if I want to go to a museum, wherever, you're going to feel like you have the place slightly to yourself on a weekday versus a weekend. So maybe that's the option that you've got a little leeway with, Sarah, if you're heading there in October. during kind of that peak fall foliage season that you don't necessarily do it. Even Sunday to Thursday, that Sunday is kind of that, we traveled up on that off day, can be a little bit better than that Friday, Saturday for sure. Okay, and Lily's chiming in and saying national parks are cheap. $80 annual pass gets you into 90% of the parks on the East and West Coast. Yes, they are. National parks are super cheap with the annual pass. You can take this even cheaper. We happen to have a fourth grader. And if you have a fourth grader in your house, you should definitely travel and see as much of America as you want, because they're going to save you even a little bit more. So the National Park System has the fourth grade pass, which gets every kiddo in the fourth grade a free annual pass to the National Park System for everyone in their car, which is kind of fun. So anyone that has a fourth grader, if you're an aunt of a fourth grader, I don't know, it's time to take them all on a road trip and take advantage of it too. But it is a fun perk and a fun way to save a little bit more. So tips for Savannah. My sister wants to visit the city for a 3-day weekend. So we used to live there, Lily. It's a very fun city. I would encourage you again to stay a little bit out of downtown, off of the whole riverfront area, maybe even just a few blocks back. There's a lot of hotels in the downtown Savannah area, and I know that you'll be able to find some that are cheaper than the ones that are right on River Street. And honestly, all of Savannah has things in that downtown area to see. So no matter where you plant yourself, you're still going to be doing a ton of walking anyway, whether you were on River Street or not. So back off from that peak area. You're going to already significantly save some. Also for Savannah is watching for weekends that are on their own peak weekends. I would have no desire to go to Savannah, for instance, on St. Patrick's Day or St. Patrick's Day weekend. Just stay home. Not only is it going to be really expensive, but it's crazy. So watching for those, the best way to keep yourself away from those weekends is actually to look at the Chamber of Commerce for really whatever city. So this is a Savannah tip, but any city's Chamber of Commerce is going to have a calendar of what is running in the area. And you'll quickly be able to tell, like, ooh, that sounds kind of like a big weekend, and I don't know that I want to go on that particular weekend. Maybe the weekend sounds right up your alley, and you love the idea of a whole bunch of crazy people out on a street. Go have a blast. I'm not going, but you can. What makes you happy. So you can look at that. I love to kind of skim Chamber of Commerce pages to get an idea. It can also be something that completely, maybe you wouldn't have thought you wanted to make it, but you can time your trip around that because you think it's pretty awesome. So always start there. If you don't have any dates nailed down, and see if something cool's going on that you want to try to hit. One example, I don't think Savannah's doing it anymore. They were talking about trying to bring it back, but in September, for years, they did a huge Savannah Jazz Festival with free jazz going on in some of the parks around downtown. This is when we used to live there. That was a pretty awesome weekend. And if I had to decide if they were still running it, I don't think they are, I would vote while the Savannah Jazz Festival was going on. So there can be good events to attend to. They're not all negative. But that would be, just an idea of looking at the Chamber of Commerce page to see, are there weekends to avoid or weekends that you would enjoy for any city? But Savannah has a lot of those weekends, so it can be kind of a big help to be able to miss some of them. And my husband's telling me they do still have something similar. They just call it a music fest now. It's not, it has jazz still in it, but it's not just jazz. We were kind of fans of the Just Jazz Festival. Music's great too. Okay. Oh, Shannon, I'm sorry it's messing up. I'm hoping on my end everything's okay. So maybe you'll be able to come back and rewatch after we're all done. Maybe it'll play nicely for you. That sounds like an awesome trip. Jamie says they're going to Iceland in October for her 40th birthday. I hope you guys got in on some of those really, really crazy good Iceland airfare deals. They have been pushing hard for really the last 2 years on some crazy good airfare deals to try to get people to go to Iceland. It doesn't usually make people's top 10, but if they're going to offer you round trip from some pretty major airports in the United States for less than $300, I mean, you should consider it. And if you haven't looked them up, I'm pretty sure they're still pretty cheap flights, so we can all go to Iceland. But there's definitely some pretty good deals out there. Okay, so I don't know. Jolen's saying that we're kind of freezing too. Lily's saying it's looking fine. I'm going to keep on going on my side. I think it's, I don't see any issues, but hopefully it'll all be good for you if you were to come back and to grab it after the fact, or maybe switch over to the YouTube side if you wanted to. See if that works. I'm not sure. Okay, let's go through some other tips. I hit some big ones on just hotels, zooming out, picking a smaller city that's outside of the bigger area, or at least right outside of the major downtown area that a lot of folks aim to be in for hotels, picking weekdays versus weekends, picking that off-season peak time too is pretty big. So let's talk flights for just a minute. Flights are not a favorite right now. We've got some deals, and then you have some that are just really, really overpriced. But my go-to for saving on flights, I mention this every time we talk travel, is google.com/flights. So I will stick this in the comments for you guys too, but google.com/flights. If you head here, you get to play a little bit. So with this, having a hard time copying and pasting tonight. Sorry, guys. With google.com/flights, you can put in not only your city, but a couple other cities to get some ideas. So for example, I live in Columbia, South Carolina. I can put in Columbia, which is great, but then I can come here and I can also hit the plus sign, and I can say, you know what, I'm also willing to travel out of Charlotte, and I'm also willing to travel out of Charleston. There's actually a lot of deals out of Charleston right now. So I want it to search all three of those airports. And then I can say, you know what, I want to go to, I'm just trying to think of a random place. Let's go Boston. And with Boston Logan. But even here, you can play with some others. So maybe you want to go Rhode Island as well. Rhode Island is kind of, I should spell it right. Right outside of the general Boston area. So I go Rhode Island. You can play around. You can plug in others. But you can see where I can put in multiple airports to leave from, multiple airports to arrive in. And then, this is why I want you to be flexible on your dates. Click here, and it will start to automatically search. So you may not be able to see this on what you're watching on, but underneath each date is literally a price, and it's the lowest price for that date. So if I'm super flexible, I don't necessarily care what airport I leave from. I don't even necessarily care what airport I arrive into, and I don't even care what day I go. I just know I want to go sometime in March. Then ideal is that I could leave on March 9th. And how about if I returned on March 17th? My lowest flight, it's telling me, is going to be $78 round trip. And then it will spit it out for me. Surprise, surprise, it is on a flight from Charleston. Not what a lot of you would expect. You would have thought Charlotte, because we think the biggest airport, the cheapest flight. Not necessarily. So we are flying from Charleston into Rhode Island International Airport, $78 round trip flight with that particular price. So you can kind of get some ideas of how to play there. Yes, I was incredibly flexible on the search. I'm putting in, again, multiple airlines, picking, just letting it spit out dates. And there's a lot of dates. This is a March 16th. So again, Wednesday flights being cheaper, we can go even further out. It's going to keep spitting out those prices. Keep in mind with airline flights, sometimes the further you go out, the cheaper the flight is. And then the closer you get, the cheaper the flight is. So there's like this magical window. The more I'm willing to think ahead, I will actually get a pretty good deal. And then if I decide, you know what, I think I want to go like 3 months from now, that's actually not the magical deal window. We're really talking like 4 or 5 months ahead. Go ahead and book it. And then maybe waiting until the last minute because you can get some really, really good low price tickets last minute. But hopefully that helps you get some ideas. That was just playing with a random city and random times. Obviously, you can also spit out, we'll stick with what we had. It'll spit out all sorts of trips. Maybe you didn't like those times. That was a nonstop flight though, not too bad. But those are all your other options if you wanted to fly in other planes. Now, you can book directly through on some of these flights. On others, it will actually tell you go to American and search for this flight number and book your flight. So you will not actually be able to book everything through google.com/flights, but you can see everything. The reason for this, Google actually built the back-end system that airlines use for booking. So this is, they're giving you basically a front-end view of the exact system that the airlines are using. They just don't always have a tie-in for you to book directly with the airline. Some of them they do, but not all of them. Okay. So Jamie's chiming in. Another one too is Travel Zoo, that she really likes Travel Zoo, that it rocks. So let me trying to go through and catch everybody's here. Diana, I'm glad we're good on the YouTube side. I'm not sure what's happening for folks in other places. Don't forget to use a travel agent. Tiffany says, Tiffany sounds like she's a travel agent. We give many perks and are constantly looking for a lower rate or deal up until the date of travel. Good ones don't charge a dime and make planning a trip stress-free. So yes, Tiffany, I will say there are some perks there. A lot of times you don't pay anything to use a travel agent, and they do continue to help you make sure you're getting the best price that you can. I will tell you, Tiffany, I love being my own travel agent. So that's part of the fun. But if that would take some stress off of you, they are still there, as we go hunting and digging up great fun flights, just for you to realize that that perk is still there. They can still book that for you. I will say, honestly, for cruises, a lot of times they can get you the lowest rate, and they are able to reduce the rate, where sometimes, especially lately, cruises, if you found a lower rate later, they don't necessarily want to deal with you, but they will deal with the travel agent in a kind of a nicer sense than they will deal with you. So I would recommend that for cruises right now for sure. Okay. Moving on from planes, we've got travel is a lot. I do want to mention a few other fun things. So if you're looking at road tripping it, which this is a great year for road tripping it, not really trying to go anywhere big, not every country has reopened. I do want to mention, if you have not already learned this, that you can go to most states' visitor bureaus on their website and really just Google like free Colorado travel guide, free Utah travel guide. You end up on the state's website. So this is from the Utah Office of Tourism, and you just request it and they send it to you. So if you are even dreaming, this is free. You just give them your address and they mail it. And guys, I requested this 2 weeks ago, and it is already here. So I have my one Utah book, and I have my other little Utah book, and a fun map, all from a really quick request, free, on the state visitor bureau website. So just Googling Utah free travel guide, Colorado free travel guide. Now you are going to have to give them your address. I will tell you, so far, nobody from Utah has called me and begged me to come visit. But just so you know, you are going to give them information so they can mail it to you. Every state pretty much offers these, and it can have some fun information in there that you weren't expecting. So like this one is all national parks with just fun little tours and pull out maps, camps to look for, where to head to. And there may be some things that you hadn't really thought about going there. It's probably got a lot of state parks is more what I'm noticing, not necessarily. Some of them are kind of more off the beaten path, just things that you may not have put on your list, but it could be a neat place to go. Not to mention, when you're planning a trip, it's just fun to look at pictures. So signing up for those, they're free. There are also some other countries that offer those too. So if you are planning on a really big trip, you really can reach out. Everybody has an office of tourism that will gladly send you information to come to their area. So kind of fun to go hunting there. Jeannie is also chiming in. So kayak is also fun for flights. And I agree, Jeannie, I am a huge fan of kayak, especially the Kayak Explore tool. So just to play with that for a second to show you guys what I mean. If you don't have a place that you want to go with kayak, you can actually tell them, I don't know where I want to go. So to show you this for a second, this is their website. So I can plug in Explore. I can say, you know what, I'm willing to travel from Charlotte. I want to go anywhere. And I can say, you know what, I'm willing to go anywhere in the month of April. So it's kind of an off-peak time. Kids are still in school. And it starts to spit out who has the lowest prices. So you could go really big, and I could start to zoom out here and say, you know what, I want to go really far. I could go to Miami for $133. I could go to San Francisco for $141. You can go international too. So we start to get some folks over here. But it's really fun. So if you're just at the beginning stages of planning a trip too, maybe you don't necessarily know where you want to go, use this tool. So again, it's kayak.com, and then explore is down here on the sidebar. And you can just play with your home city. And I kind of see I'm kind of covering it up. So your home city, where you want to go, you can put in somewhere specific, but you take away the fun of the Explore tool. And then where you, when you're willing to go, you can also tell them the duration. And if you don't have 14 days of vacation leave, I would narrow that down a little bit. And it'll kind of give you some general prices. It'll then tell you what dates make that best trip. So you can turn around and make that trip for yourself. Marguerite, who is good for booking hotels? So there's a few websites. Hotwire, still around. If you are cool with just telling it what rating you want, you will get some crazy good prices. With Hotwire, if you end up finding it cheaper somewhere else or directly through the brand, they will match that cheaper price, which is pretty awesome. So you're going to pick location of the city that you want to be in, and it's going to spit out a rating. So again, I can say, you know what, I want to go to Charleston, South Carolina, because who doesn't? We live right near there, but I know a lot of other people will love to, and I want to go. We're going to pick some fun, not weekend dates. So find a hotel. It's not necessarily going to tell you the name of the hotel, but you're going to pick where you're willing to be. So do I want to be in the historical section, or am I cool with being out a little ways? Yes, you're cool with being out a little ways. And then I can tell it that, I want a 3-star or a 4-star, and it's going to spit out some prices. If I'm willing to go over here to Mount Pleasant, which is the name of the little island across the bridge, the prices are going to get even cheaper. So that is always a fun one. You don't necessarily know the brand until you book, but if you do find it cheaper, they honor that cheaper price. The other one that a lot of folks still recommend, Priceline, still around, where you get to set your own price. If they find a hotel willing to take that price, you get that price. Another option too is booking directly through the brands. This may seem crazy, but the brands will also honor a lower price. So again, I told you we have a Marriott card, but if I book a hotel through Marriott.com, they have a guaranteed low price for Marriott Rewards members, which is anybody. Their rewards program is free. So if you're booking through the brand and then I end up finding a lower price for that hotel through, wherever, Orbitz, you're just on some random site searching for hotels, you find it cheaper, they will honor the cheaper price. So pretty awesome. And you're going to earn, those rewards from booking directly through the brand as well. So that would be lots of options there, but hopefully some that will help. So a few other things as we dive in, I want to share a fun trip or a fun kind of road trip planning website that I have stumbled upon in the last 6 months or so. And that is called Road Trippers. So Road Trippers is an app, and you can play around with it. You can put in as many things or as few things as you want, and play, zooming in, zooming out, searching for things. But just let's see, I want to show you guys how it works. So this is roadtrippers.com. They also have a great app. But let's say you are me, and you are going to stay, and you're driving out west slowly and surely. You can tell it, you know what, I want to see attractions and experiences, and it will start to show that along the route that you're taking. You can then plug in and say, oh, Mineral Mountain State Park. I can add it to my list. I can see what other people had to say about it. just different pictures to take, whatever looks fun to you along the way, restaurants that people have liked. But it could be a neat way for you to find just some fun things along the route. So I've been playing with this in our heading out west, and let me zoom out and show you. But I did learn in that some of you guys may have done this drive before, but we will be coming home by way of Mount Rushmore across this way. And you can see we've got the Jolly Green Giant right here. Turns out this stretch of road from Mount Rushmore all the way over to Chicago is like the land of really giant statues every 100 miles. I don't know. But it's kind of neat, and I wouldn't have known that these existed without playing around with this. So you can sit there, and the closer you get, you can click on it, you can find out information on it, you can see what other people's ratings were for it, but this is free. And you can stop in and take a picture with the Jolly Green Giant. So kind of fun to play around with and, get some ideas of where you may want to randomly make road stops here and there. You can save them to your map or just save them to your own map. So it is free to use, but you're only allowed so many saves on their map, and then they want you to pay for upgrades, and who wants to pay for upgrades? So once you get, your main trip laid out, at least use it to get some ideas, and then you could kind of just go save it to a spreadsheet or stick it on your Google map somewhere. But it's kind of fun as well. So that is roadtrippers.com, and you can play with that. It's also a mobile app. It's free to download and free to sit there and zoom and look all over the country for various things and just get some fun places to stop. So one of the things, not only did I find the Jolly Green Giant, but there's a fun stop that happens to be just a few hours north of one of the hotels that I want us to stay at that is Superman. I don't know. Have any of you guys stopped in Metropolis? I think it's Metropolis. What? I'm trying to think of what city that was in. I guess it's the corner of Metropolis, Illinois, has Superman, and you can go and stand next to a gigantic Superman statue. Super fun. So things you may not know that are along the route as you're traveling. Road trips are awesome. Make them more fun, right? That's the goal. So in terms of road trips, the other big part is gas. I can't make gas go away, but there are ways to save on them. So don't miss any of your gas station gift card deals that are running in the grocery stores. Publix just finished having a gas station gift card deal that ended yesterday, but we've seen quite a bit. So I'm starting to rack up. I'm getting quite my selection going. I did ask my husband, does it matter if I save these for a trip if we need gas now? But mentally, it makes the trip seem more affordable, right? If you go in prepared with gas gift cards. Another one, obviously taking advantage of any gas savings we can get is good. So Kroger right now currently running 4 times the fuel points on other gift cards. Now, that's not going to work on Kroger gift cards, but I'm still going to earn 4 times the fuel points if I were to get gift cards to Amazon, gift cards to Target, to Lowe's, things that you may need. I can still grab a gift card. I'm going to earn gas savings at any Kroger grocery store across the country. So other things with gas is also taking advantage of gas rewards programs. Everyone has gas station rewards programs. So Exxon, Shell, BP, but also Walmart, Flying J, and Pilot, making sure that you are taking advantage of those discounts. They're automatic. All you're going to do is show your little card at the pump, a lot of times just scanning your card number at the pump, and you're going to get 3 to 5 cents off a gallon of gas just because you did that. Making sure as well that you're using the apps that are going to show you the lowest price of gas as you're traveling to. We are also never opposed to traveling a half mile off the interstate, because a little bit away from the interstate, you're going to see that price significantly drop. Not to mention, if we're traveling with our dog, then there's probably a little bit more green space for her to get out and use the bathroom too. But we got to save, 10, maybe even 15 cents a gallon just because we went a tiny bit away from the interstate. Yes, it killed 7 minutes of your trip, but you saved a chunk of money to do that too. So just, things to consider. Lynn's asking, how much is RV insurance? that is going to be, you want to add that into insurance on kind of a multi-line item, meaning that you've got other things that you are insuring. It's not massive, Lynn, but you do want to consider what your deductible is. In terms of general price, I'm going to refer that to my husband because he's the one that recently got all of our prices renegotiated. Now, our RV it's a travel trailer, but it is also super old. It's older than my oldest kids. So recommend, it's saving from the get-go when you get your insurance or when you get your RV by maybe not necessarily having the latest and newest and brightest model, but it is going to depend on your insurance. So aiming for, I would say, depending on your model too, between $30 a month all the way up to the price of insuring a car if we're looking at a motorhome. So what I would recommend is asking any insurance agent before you purchase one, this is our make and our model, or this is what we're looking at getting. How much would it cost to insure that RV? You are looking at quite a lot. And it depends on your insurer. So my husband was saying Allstate was like $100 a year and State Farm was like $1,000 a year. So it just depends on who you call, and it never hurts. This was on our call last week. Never hurts to make that call every single year and renegotiate those prices, calling around and seeing who has the best price on insurance. All your insurances is pretty huge. That is something to consider before you go and buy an RV, though, because you're going to have to pay tax, tag, title, insurance, all of that, and a chunk of that every year is going to get a lot. But I still love camping. I wouldn't take away camping. We haven't even hit that one for anyone that is on the hunt for ways to save on camping. Lately, the biggest issue with camping is finding a campsite. So it's not about saving money. It's about how in the world are we even going to go somewhere. Highly recommend looking at recreation.gov. So state parks are great. I love state parks, but there's a ton of state parks that are run by the Army Corps of Engineers and other groups too that are basically national. You're going to book them through recreation.gov. We love Army Corps of Engineer campsites. They're some of the most level campsites you will ever find. And they're actually cheaper than state parks. So recreation.gov, plugging in where you're headed, seeing if there's some campsites that you may not have actually been aware of. They do have a few more restrictions, not huge issues, but just maybe some more rules. So you need to be able to follow those rules, but I don't think it's going to be a big issue for a lot of you guys. But we would highly recommend them. My husband says, don't give away our secrets. And make sure, yes, that's a big tip. He's giving me his tips to share with y'all. But when you're hunting on recreation.gov, making sure that you do specify that you want electricity and water, because there are a lot of campsites on their system that are hardcore campsites. And you're still looking at RV sites potentially, but they literally don't have water or electricity. And maybe that's not what you were quite wanting to sign up for. So definitely checking those boxes that you at least want power or you really want water to narrow out the search just a little bit on those sites. There are some great sites. So anyone that ever wants to head to Atlanta, we love some Army Corps of Engineer sites that are all along the lakes that are just north of Atlanta. Beautiful, beautiful areas and really affordable campsites. So you've got to check that one out. Hopefully for anyone that's camping, tent or RV for that matter, but just some fun sites through there. So to kind of a whole nother side of travel is eating. I am a huge fan. We talked about hotels, but I'm actually a huge fan of vacation rentals. If we're looking at, not camping and traveling across the country or traveling to stay at the beach, a hotel's great, but there's only so much cooking that you can do out of a hotel room. So if you're looking at the same price per night of a hotel room versus a vacation rental, you're looking at a place that has a kitchen, potentially, hopefully, and maybe even a washer and dryer. But having the ability to cook your own meals is a huge money saver. So years ago, it was probably 7 or 8 years ago now, our whole family went to Washington, D.C. for a week. We went the week between Christmas and New Year's. And we stayed in kind of an old brownstone, beautiful rental unit that was right behind the Capitol. Got a great rate because we were there off season. I couldn't have found a hotel room that was that cheap. We also split the house with some friends, so that really made it affordable. But the ability to cook our own meals there is huge for a family with multiple kids. At that point, we had 4 kids. Now we have 5. Eating out with 7 people, it isn't affordable. Like even Chick-fil-A costs an arm and a leg. It may cost an arm and a leg for 2 people, but for 7, it's crazy expensive. So anytime that we can eat in is a money saver. I highly recommend having some go-to meals, maybe even taking an ice chest with you with some frozen meals already put together. So if you're thinking, you know what, I don't want to go to the beach and have to cook, you could make this easy on yourself. You could get some casseroles together, make a lasagna, freeze them all, take them all frozen in the cooler. By the time you get there, most of them will actually still be frozen. I can't say that. If you live in Kansas and you're going to drive to Charleston, South Carolina, they probably won't be. But for me, it's only 2 hours away. So take it and I can thaw it there and eat it over the time that we're there. Anytime that I can travel and cook. Now, if we're going out west, I don't think that my casserole is going to make it all the way to the Grand Canyon from South Carolina. Then have some go-to easy meals and take spices with you. That is a really big tip. We only have so much room. 7 people traveling in a car on a road trip. It's going to be tight quarters. I mean, I'm already like, everybody gets 1 stuffed animal. No more. You become the little stuffed animal warden in the car. But spices are crucial. And you don't even, think about the ones you use the most. I'm not talking like the entire spice cabinet. But if I had spices on me, then I can easily make most of the dishes that we love by just grabbing the ingredients. Because it's the spices that you're just going to use this little dash of and then not need any more of, right? You could also go ahead and make some mixes together. So maybe I don't bring all the spices out, but I take out Ziploc bags of this is taco seasoning, ready to go. You get the idea. Some simple meals that all I need to do is stop into a grocery store and grab some meat, grab some lettuce, tomatoes, and taco shells. We're kind of there. Cheese, whatever you require. But boom, you have tacos on the table and you don't have to spend an arm and a leg. Even paying off sale for those items, if that's the case, because you're popping in that day and grabbing it all, is still going to be cheaper than 7 people going to a restaurant and buying tacos. So you can probably think of what those simple meals would be for you. It may not be exciting, and I'm not going to tell you that we'll never eat out on a vacation. But if I can, our goal might be that we eat out once on a general vacation, and that we're trying to eat in all the other nights if we can. And maybe you eat out nice that one time. You get to go somewhere fun, but you saved a ton of money by just thinking of what those simple meals were ahead of time. Spaghetti, tacos, beef stroganoff. Those are some of our easy go-tos. We call them Lipton onion soup burgers because they're just hamburger meat with Lipton onion soup mix added in, rice and a veggie. So some simple things that you could also potentially carry with you, some dried rice. You've got your seasonings, salt and pepper, and then you handle the little things you need wherever you are. Packing a cooler, even if you don't want to take food in the cooler, pack clothes in the cooler. But you've got a cooler for when you get there. That can be pretty huge. So if you are going on a super long road trip, you don't want to deal with keeping ice on a cooler the whole way out. Use the cooler like it's a suitcase. Once you get there, unpack your suitcase. Hopefully you're going to stay in one place for a little while, and then use your cooler as you are traveling during the day to bring snacks, to have cold drinks, to pack a picnic. But that's your ice chest is your new suitcase, but it's a great way to get it out there and not take up extra room in the car too. I'm all for any meals that we can knock out and not have to pay for. Guys, I am not as cheap as they come, but I'm pretty cheap. But even down to like treats, every family loves to stop and get ice cream. every time we do at a fancy place, I just sit there the whole time and think, oh my goodness, this costs like $35 for 7 people to get an ice cream cone. I could have gone and bought 7 cartons of ice cream for the same amount of money. And so sometimes we will, not 7 cartons, but like, hey, we're going to just stop in really fast to the grocery store and buy a box of ice cream sandwiches or whatever. And everybody got the treat they wanted. They just wanted ice cream. They didn't really care that it was from a neat ice cream parlor. I mean, the youngest is 6. She doesn't care where it goes. She just wants ice cream. So figuring out a way that your family can do that affordably, the grocery store is your friend. Every time you're traveling, it's going to be cheaper than the cute little ice cream parlor. Again, I'm not like taking away all the fun, but pondering it here and there where you can save money so that you can splurge money somewhere else, if that's how you want to look at it, but you're staying under whatever that budget is. Another way to look at this too, instead of me just taking away all the fun of a vacation, is if we could do a vacation super tight, let's just throw out a number. You could do a vacation tenting, and maybe you stayed under $500 for the whole week. It's still a chunk of money, $500 for a week for a family. But if you could make that budget, that potentially could open up a second vacation. You know, maybe we did stay on budget for that and we've got enough money for another short trip somewhere else. So look at it that way. It's not about I need to do all these little tiny things in all these little places. It's about the big picture. Did we get out there? Did we get to enjoy seeing something new and going on some fun trails? There's a lot of things that are free out there, and you can have a really great trip that then can potentially open up more great trips as you go along. So, you know, focusing on that side of things as you go. And Christy's chiming in and saying Airbnb is her favorite. So in terms of those vacation rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, those are the top 2. Also wanting to mention, someone recently sent me an email in terms of rental cars, and that was her question. She said, you know, we're heading out to Yellowstone. We've got a bunch of friends coming. We figured out the Airbnb. We figured out this, and we can't figure out the rental car for 8 people, which is hard because you're limiting yourself to only a few models. So if you've not heard of it, there is a rental car kind of VRBO basically. And I have not tried them, so I'm not going to say that I'm an expert, but Turo is the name of this site. So I will show you this one. It is Turo.com. And, you know what, really quick, let me just make myself smaller so that you guys don't see me in front of it. There we go. So this is actually the search that I did for her on this trip. This is looking, or I guess I didn't even save the city. She was looking at Bozeman, Montana, because she was going into Yellowstone. So searching for her specific trip, because my computer is still remembering it, and she was wanting it for a specific size people. So you can put in, you know, how many seats. I need a car that can seat 8 people. They couldn't even find any that were in stock, and boom, we've got $80 a day for a Toyota Highlander. These have ratings. You can see who you're booking from. So you're not just in the dark, but you've got information. It's just like VRBO or Airbnb, but a lot of options. Some of them will even pick you up at the airport, and then you take over their car and you get to drive it for a little while. So not saying it's going to be incredibly cheaper than a rental, but could be. And in their situation, they couldn't find a rental for 8 people that was even in stock. So, and now you've got 43 options just in this one city, because you're getting out of the rental car market and you're expanding into, this is really folks who own these cars, but they've got a way to make some side money by you renting it from them for a few days. So neat website to check out. So that is Turo.com. And it is like the VRBO of the rental car industry and has made a pretty big impact on the rental car industry already. So I'd love to know if any of you guys have tried it. Feel free to chime in your thoughts if you have. I've not tried it, but I know, looking at all the reviews, I haven't seen anything that folks have had, you know, horrible experiences with. There's a lot of really great reviews for even that particular search for most of those cars. So having a lot of history with VRBO and Airbnb type rentals, I'm okay with it. I don't know how you guys would be, but Like, let's go. I'll gladly drive someone else's car. I'll gladly let someone else drive mine too. Though I do suspect that they have to pay quite a bit of insurance to be able to do that. But, that's their call. So that's a fun, unique way to save on rental cars if you're hunting for that one too. Okay, we've hit all sorts of things. If there are any questions that you guys have, I'm glad to answer them too. We've kind of been bouncing around to various topics, but hit a number of ways to save. A few other things in terms of just travel in general. If you're looking at, luggage, how much do we need to take? How much do we need to leave? I would really aim to break your trip in half if you can and only pack the clothes that you need for half your trip. You'll be surprised how many hotels offer, access to a washer and dryer. Maybe you just need to bring some quarters. It doesn't hurt you to pay $1 or $2 to run a load of laundry or to hand wash things in your bathroom sink without needing to check luggage. So if we're looking at flying, you can probably get it in a carry-on if you aim to just bring a couple changes of clothes and hand wash or do a load of laundry versus checking a bag. Now, if your credit card offers free check bags, maybe you decide to go that route. Not checking a bag is actually going to make things slightly easier on you. It's going to make it easier for you to immediately get off of an airplane and take, the subway or some other form of transportation if you're going to a large city versus lugging around this really big suitcase for you. It also makes it flexible for you if you happen to fly into a city at 9:00 in the morning and you can't check into your hotel until 3 or 4. The hotel will check your luggage for you, but usually you're still going to have to pay for it. And definitely tipping the bellman and all of that. So not doing all of that, just doing the carry-on can be a significant savings when you start to think about the little tiny bits that all add up. So break that trip in half, taking half of the laundry that you need. If you're going on a crazy long trip, then breaking it up even smaller and planning laundry stops into your trip will be huge. I don't mean like we went and we sat in a laundromat for 4 hours. I mean, maybe you did hotels for a few nights and then we did a VRBO for 2 nights. And the VRBO let us eat our meals in, but it also let us wash our laundry. Many times the VRBO is the same rate as the hotel, but you just gave yourself more benefits, not just the kitchen, but you got to catch up on your laundry too. And then you can jump back into hotels if that's what you're doing. So maybe you're trying to use some points up and we jump out of hotels, get some laundry, get some eating in, and then we go back to using our points in hotels. Can be an option. Okay. Well, for anybody that had trouble tonight with issues, I don't know why things were freezing up, but if you had trouble and you weren't hanging with us after the fact and you've got questions that I didn't hit on, feel free to send me an email, Jenny@SouthernSavers.com. I am glad to answer any travel tips or a Facebook message. Glad to answer anything that I can to help you enjoy a really fun trip. It is February, so now is the time that you want to be booking definitely spring break. For some college students, that's next month. For most public school systems, that's in April. But definitely your summer vacations. You need to be on that. So it is summer vacation time. Thinking off-peak wherever you're headed to, getting creative. You're going to find some great places to stay when you go off the beaten path a little bit, and you're going to save a lot of money to do it. Places that you can drive to. You don't have to rent a car. You don't have to pay to check bags. The more people you're traveling with, the more that car makes itself affordable. When you start to add in 6 and 7 plane tickets, like us, we'll drive there. We're good. So don't be afraid of it. Road trips are fun, and you can see lots of things. So hopefully this helps you guys. I'm all for everyone taking a vacation. We'll be back next week. I know that it's Valentine's Day. But if you're truly frugal, you don't celebrate on Valentine's Day. You celebrate the day before or the day after. Just stay home on Valentine's Day. Stay in, eat a nice meal. But we'll be here same time, 8:30 Monday night, and going through a different topic. So hopefully I will catch you guys then. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I'm going to go ahead and pop off here. And if you've got, again, more questions, I'll be glad to answer them via email or via Facebook message. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.